If you appreciate the work that we do here at the Massachusetts Recreational Consumer Council, become a member. The link will be in the comments. Or, if you think we could be doing something better, we also want to hear from you. Just send us a direct message on Facebook. Alright, the date is January 21st, 2018. I'm your host, Sonia Erika. I'm one of the co-founders of the Massachusetts Recreational Consumer Council. We are here with MRCC's president and lobbyist, Kamani Jefferson.
How's it going?
Thank you so much, Kamani, for joining us today.
Anytime.
So this is the first episode of Canna Talk. MRCC's Canna Talk is focused on helping you stay updated on what's happening with Massachusetts through an audio-video podcast. We feel it's important for the community to be involved in what's happening, and what better way than to listen to the stories that are happening today. So, today we will be talking about the current state of the industry, including draft regulations that are coming out in March, 4 items that you should be aware of that we should fight for before regulations are finalized in March, what this means now that Jeff Sessions has chosen to rescind the Cole memo, the Boston Globe This Week in Weed newsletter, and all of the fuss that came from that. Aside from that, last but not least, we will also be talking about a few events that you should definitely know about. So, welcome to Canna Talk. Take your pipe, light it up, and let's get going. So, Kamani, thank you so much. Tell us, what is going on in the industry? What are draft regulations?
So, marijuana, cannabis, was legalized December 15th, 2016. But that only legalized possession and growing in your home and gifting. The rest of the industry, where you're allowed to go to the store and purchase, that doesn't come until July 1st, 2018. So the Cannabis Control Commission, which was formed at the end of last year, it's September, is the body that is supposed to create these draft regulations that let you know exactly how you can get a license to sell it, to make it, to test it.
But what do you mean? I thought weed was legalized December 15, 2016.
Again, it was legalized to possess and to grow it, and you're also allowed to gift it. But if you want to sell it, that's still illegal, unless you get a license to dispense it, to sell it. Like
and when will licenses be available?
So they have to finalize these regulations by March 23rd, and then April 1st is when applications open up. June 1st, they have until June 1st to start licensing people, and then July 1st is when recreational stores are supposed to open up.
So the first recreational sales will happen July 1st?
Yes.
All right. So does this mean that, I can just sit back and wait until March 23rd for regulations to be finalized? Yeah.
No,
Are we set?
It does not mean that. We're never set in this industry. There's always work to be done. We are fighting for, specifically MRCC, for the social equity program, which currently it says if you live in a certain neighborhood, which had a lot of incarceration and unemployment, that you will get certain assistance, technical assistance, getting fees waived when you apply. And it sounds great, right? It sounds awesome, amazing. Kind of seeing that California model equity programs coming to the East Coast, which is exciting. But we believe at MRCC it's not enough, because zoning is really cost prohibitive in the cannabis industry, period, across the whole country. Just to get a building, something zoned correctly, is really hard. And they also are talking about a social use program, which is cannabis cafes, cannabis bars. But the way the regs are written now is they're saying you have to own or be renting a brick and mortar, and it has to be either primary use, so you're either a dispensary and you have the social consumption cafes, or you can be a mixed use license, so maybe yoga or movie theater, but you still have to be renting or own that building in that correct zone. So we know that events are already happening across the state, and no one's doing their due diligence in zoning or anything like that at these events. So these events are already happening in our backyard here in the Commonwealth, and if they don't include these type of licenses, these non-brick and mortar, these 1-day, 3-day event licenses that we're fighting for, which they were initially talking about in the policy discussions before finalizing the draft regs, we don't believe a successful program will happen because people will just see it. They're already having these events. Why should they go apply for something that they're not familiar with or they don't see as attainable, as opposed to something they already see happening? They already go to a cannabis event all the time. So
why is this so important now, especially that Jeff Sessions has decided to rescind something like the Cole memo, and also what was included in the Boston Globe newsletter,
right,
about slowing down the regulations,
right, which is BS. So the Cole memo being rescinded. The Cole memo was a policy put out by James Cole, who was the Deputy Attorney General of Obama, who said we won't go shut down dispensaries and state licensed places as long as they're following certain things. They're not selling to minors, they're not diverting out of state, they're not dealing with cartels. It was 8 points that said as long as they do this, the feds won't bother you. For him to rescind that, was expected because he is still...
Does this affect people just in the state of Massachusetts or federally?
Federal. I mean, both, right? States' rights and federal rights, yeah. We legalized it, but this is still federally illegal. So you got two different laws on the books. And this Cole memo kind of was in between. But now he took that away. The feds could just say, come shut down a dispensary. Go to Colorado, shut down the dispensaries. It would be problematic, and we don't see it happening. But they do have that power now because the Cole memo has been rescinded. Before, they could only hit certain dispensaries, shut them down if they were breaking these certain policy points. So
who exactly in our state is responsible for all of that? Is it the Cannabis Control Commission? Is it the governor? Is it the attorney general? Because according to the news sources, the only person that was really against or that was really for Jeff Sessions' decision was Andrew Lelling, our attorney general.
Our U.S. attorney general actually said some interesting words of, we're only going to target certain groups who are moving bulk cultivation and breaking the law. It's very ambiguous. He does have that power, but in reality, it comes down to, we could legalize it federally. That would get the job done. Also, the states...
But do we want to legalize it federally?
No, I know. Do that I know that's one option.
Now?
That's one option.
Because, it is important to legalize, but legalization isn't just... the freedom of being able to buy weed at a storefront. Legalization means making up for the years lost in jails or prisons. The family, the fathers that have been in prison, the families that have been deported, the mothers. This is what legalization is about. For everything that's happened in the past, for the 3.1 times that black men are more likely to get arrested than anybody else. Mm-hmm. So do we really want to legalize it now quickly?
I didn't say I wanted to legalize it now. That's one option. The other option is we do have state rights. We could get a state law saying that we will not cooperate with the feds, similarly how there's sanctuary states that doesn't cooperate with the feds if they're trying to deport people. We can do the same thing with our cannabis law, which Will Luzier and Dick Evans are working on a bill like that to kind of in the state where you won't the states will not support the feds coming in and fight back. And actually, I believe the Boston commissioner and one of the head state policemen said they will not assist with that. So we already see we're getting that. So it's going to come down to a bit of both between the federals and the states to kind of figure out how we're going to address this issue.
Should we be calling Attorney General Lelling to let him know that we support this bill? What is the name of this bill?
The bill hasn't come out yet. I believe they are working on it, and they were looking for a co-sponsor. I think Dave Rogers is co-sponsoring. I just posted an article a couple days ago. I'll take a look. So that could have just been drafted. I haven't seen the bill. But once it's officially out, yes, we will be on the ball. We'll let everyone know, call your reps to support the bill. But I think they're still working on the kinks.
Hell yeah. So now that we've spoken about the Jeff Sessions decision and, you know, what we can do about that, what can we do about the Boston Globe newsletter
this
that
week
came
in
out?
Weed? So.
Yeah. This newsletter basically included members of the community, members who have, you know, opened up medical dispensaries, lobbyists who claim to be for the people, Dan Delaney. Basically stating that Massachusetts should slow down on regulations. And by slow down, they mean not include 1-day and 3-day licenses, as well as the ability to bring your own cannabis, which, you know, everybody already brings their own cannabis to the party, to any event, to wherever I'm going, because we are legally allowed to carry up to an ounce in public. At home, I can possess up to 10 ounces. But also the ability to have non-brick and mortar delivery systems. So what does this mean? What does this mean for our industry, and what can we do about it? You know, specifically considering that there are lobbyists that are pushing so that these laws will not seem favorable, claiming that there's going to be super high stoners that will cause accidents and deaths.
There's social use licenses if they're going to cannabis bars.
Yes.
Meanwhile, we go to cannabis events already. So.
Yes, and meanwhile, I don't even know how many people die from alcohol each day.
Oh, yeah.
But from weed,
Zero.
yeah. So MRCC, we're pushing for 1-day and 3-day licenses because that will...
They will legalize what's already happening in our community. And that's what we legalized. I thought that's what we voted for. So it's a continuously happening cannabis event, so we need to do it. Whether these medical dispensaries want it to happen or not is up to them, but we need to fight for what's already happening as consumers of the Commonwealth, what we voted for. And that includes 1-day, 3-day events, BYOC events, non-brick and mortar delivery services, so Uber for weed. We need it's already happening. But that's what we need to let these commissioners know. The dispensaries, they can do whatever the hell they want, but
I mean, the dispensaries need help because some
help.
of them can't even supply their own patients.
Yeah.
So if the inability to produce enough supply exists, then that person should be able to buy from a wholesaler.
Right.
Like, I know a lot of really great weed. Shout out to Maggie's Other Farm.
Yeah. Head of that Maggie's Other Farm.
Yes, we all may know somebody that grows amazing flower and should be able to also sell it on the shelves and enjoy the legalization of the plants.
What the hell is the point of legalization if you can't consume it and if you can't get it delivered to you the same way you can get alcohol or other things that kill you delivered and socially acceptable, socially used. So we're going to keep fighting for this. I'm a registered lobbyist, so I know why we exist. We're going to keep fighting for consumer rights, consumer health, consumer safety, consumer protection, and we're going to do what it takes. That's why we started this. We already knew that the dispensaries kind of had this, back a couple months ago. There was a Foley and Hoag letter. We are going to continue to fight for the right to consume, to possess, to gift, to also go to other events. And
so what are the top 4 things that we are currently fighting for?
Well, so 1-day, 3-day event licenses. You're going to keep hearing it. Sign our petition if you haven't. There's a petition online. Go to massrecouncil.com. It's on there. Or if you go to our Facebook, Massachusetts Recreational Consumer Council, if you Google that, Facebook pops right up. Sign that petition. 1-day, 3-day licenses. Bring your own cannabis licenses as well. Non-brick and mortar delivery services. If you're looking at Oakland, if you look at their equity program in Oakland, those are the people getting the equity licenses. It's the people who are doing delivery services because that is accessible for them. We also want social use. Do not slow down with social use, period. We need it. That is in the law. It was in the law from get-go. We want places to consume outside of our home. Outside of this, believe the smaller business owners the co-ops, the micro businesses, they should license as many as those as possible. Those are going to be the ones, in my opinion, based on my research on co-ops, micro businesses, they're going to be really take care of the community, really make sure their money is going to the community and being reinvested, the community reinvestment that we wanted to see. So
I mean, why? Like, why co-ops? Why not?
So a co-op, by definition, is a member-owned business that also benefits the members. So whether it's a worker, a consumer, or a bit of both. And then you have housing ones or residents owns. But the point is, if you're a member of that co-op, you're a worker and you're also a community member because you live in your community. You're a consumer, you're also a community member. And many co-ops, they have their different breakdowns of what makes them a co-op. They believe in the community. That's why they want a co-op. They want specifically
But can't you just claim the same thing when you're... I mean, we've had plenty of medical dispensaries that have claimed that they believe in the community and that they invest in the community. So
not if you remember,
what sets apart a
member
co-op
ownership,
from...
member ownership, worker ownership, consumer ownership, community member ownership. That's essentially what a co-op is. You have people who are part of the community also owning that business, owning that wealth. So when it's time to decide where the wealth should go, they're going to make sure it goes back to the place they live as community members who own the business. That's the difference. That is what defines a co-op. It's a community member run, managed business, as opposed to some of these dispensaries and other business and corporations are outside wealth that does not care about the community. So the wealth that they make doesn't go to your community, it goes back to where they live or whatever they want to do with it. So that's why I believe co-ops really is something a lot of cities and towns across the state, and micro businesses as well. Micro businesses are small businesses that can only do so much, they can only produce so much, and I believe they want, because of they can't be a one-man show, they're going to want someone from the community, and they're going to want to give back because their workers, their members are from the community. So just something to think about. The smaller players, I think, are worth looking at in this space.
What are some resources for finding out more about co-op structures and filing for as a co-op?
Mm-hmm. Right now I'm reading this book called Collective Courage. It's a history of African American co-op economic thought and practice. Prior to this, I read Humanizing the Economy. A lot of websites online that just are super useful for co-ops. Wikipedia helped a lot, just understanding the model. They're also big across the country and across the world. Mondragon in Spain, it's a co-op city. So they're pretty much a whole city of just co-ops working with other co-ops. I was looking at the microbrewing model. Some of them are co-ops, and just how microbrewers are successful. And again, microbrewers, I was talking to one of our friends who knows someone who came from the microbrewing world to cannabis, and those it's hard for those businesses because they can get zoned out. Zoning is very expensive. So I'm just seeing what some of the other industries have gone through, and trying to apply that to here.
With that being said, and these 4 things that we're pushing for, what can we do to push for them? What are the final steps towards finalizing this draft and making sure that this...
So these hearings, the Cannabis Control Commission is going on a public listening tour from February 5th to February 13th, starting in Pittsfield and going all over the state to Holyoke, Boston, Danvers, Worcester, all over the state to get people's input on what they want from these regulations. So the time is now. It's February 5th to February 13th. You can find out on our Facebook. If you go to Massachusetts Recreational Consumer Council and the events, we have it already listed there. Or if you Google, they're going to come to the communities again and listen to what the community has to say about these regs. What do you hate about it? What you love about it? What would you like to see change? They want to hear, and we want to make sure they hear. So please, if you need help finding it, you can find it on our page. We have a Facebook event for them. If you become a member, we're going to send them out again. But please show up and speak, because this is it. They're finalizing regulations. They're about to make $1 billion industry in our backyard here in Massachusetts. and we
have to make sure that we
need to
have
show up
1 day and 3 day licenses.
Yes.
So we met with 4 out of the 5 cannabis control commissioners, and the biggest thing we heard when we told them is, first of all, we realized that they really had no idea. None of the cannabis control commissioners consider themselves consumers. Only one of them voted yes on 4, but she even doesn't consider herself a consumer. So this is why it's very important that we show our narratives and the experiences that we have in legalizing this process. So pick one of those topics. We will be having a training happening a few days before the first hearing, February 5th. The location to that will be determined. If you are interested in attending this training on how to share your narrative, we will mostly be going over what, why. So what am I pushing for? I'm pushing for 1 day and 3 day licenses. Why am I pushing for this? Because as a consumer, I believe 1 day or 3 day events like infused dinners, paint nights, these are things that are already happening in our community. These are things that we have to make sure that go along with legalization, because if you legalize but don't really give people the ability to consume legally or do certain activities and so what can the Cannabis Control Commission do to assure that the industry is equitable and legalization happens properly? The Cannabis Control Commission can include 1 day and 3 day licenses in draft regulations that assures that people without access to real estate and owning or renting annual real estate can also. And don't be afraid to share your experience, because it will only help us legalize. Again, we will be having a training session happening in the next weeks, so be on the lookout for that. And that actually brings us to events. So the first event that is happening this week is
the Cannabis Control, January 23rd, 10:30 at their office, so 101 Federal. They're going to specifically talk about a new draft regulation, which we'll find out what that could be. They're announcing nominations to the citizens. That committee is going to be kind of like a watchdog over the social equity program and the economic empowerment priorities to see if they're doing it right, and it'll represent the whole state, so we can get a nice feedback. It should be good.
They're going to be appointing, each commissioner gets to appoint 2 people, so there's going to be a total, except for one commissioner who only appoints 1.
Chairman
I think,
Hoffman.
So be on the lookout for this commission, because it's supposed to be composed of, the citizens, and so we have to make sure that this committee is also. The next event, and another very, very important event, is an event that we've been talking about throughout the whole podcast. And this is the first hearing, the first public hearing, the final public, February 5th. So be sure, if you want to know which towns they're visiting, just go on our Facebook and you'll find more information there. We've set out all the events and where they're happening, so you can just add yourself to whatever one you can make it to. And with that,
we're also having,
there's the last event, and this is with C3RN. C3RN was a winner and finalist of the BU Cannabis competition, the first college
Buzz
that
Lab with their business school.
Yes,
yeah, it was really
shout
cool.
out to BU for taking
the
step,
gave them the 10,000,
because I don't see any other schools actually
jumping in like that. So hopefully more schools will get involved. Massachusetts land of schools, so we'll see.
So, and if you're a student and you want to get involved, whether it's through MRCC or SSZP, send us an email, because this is the way we do it. This is the way we change laws. This is the way we change what our system looks like. It's by becoming politically engaged and finding communities that
support it.
Yeah.
And so C3RN is having the Advancing Cannabis Research in Massachusetts on January 25th around 6:30 in Somerville, Canopy, Somerville. And it's going to be like an adult science, adult education event, if you will, and there'll be a bunch of speakers talking about research. It's one of many. They're going to be doing multiple events around research. The second event, we're actually working with C3RN on doing research around community engagement and civic engagement, what that research looks like. So we're excited, like I said.
And Commissioner Shalene Title will also be speaking at the second event. But the first event is happening January 25th.
6:30, Canopy, Somerville.
Yes. So hope we'll see you there. And now it's time for finishing moves. I don't know how to roll, and I don't care because I have one hitters. So you just screw this back on, and it looks like a little bullet. But then when you're ready, you screw it like this. Oh, light it up. And get high. So, Kamani, do you have any finishing moves?
Besides that one, just show up, everyone. My finishing move is to remind people to show up, be politically engaged, whether it is at these hearings, which you need to do, or locally in your community, which we'll have another article and podcast about coming soon.
Yes, the next 2 episodes will be focused on municipal guidance and the equity program. So Massachusetts is one of the few states to actually include language. Hope you join us.
Yes, and we're excited. Everyone just stay at it, stay active, stay hungry, stay learning. This is our industry.
Hell yes. Peace.
Peace.